Hi, thank you for joining me for another adult coloring sheet. This sheet will be out of the Kappa adult coloring creative coloring book. It has a waterfall scene on the front of it. It also includes inspirational designs and quotes, it says. That's the front cover. I'm going to do page 13. It doesn't have a lot of activity on it, but just something calming. Today it's kind of dreary outside where it keeps trying to rain, but it's not. So I want to just do something that has like a waterfall. It looks like waterfall with rocks. The sun is in the back. And up here in the foreground is a cluster of flowers. So I'm going to do that. It feels really free-flowing and relaxing. So that's why I'm going to do that one. The great part of the about coloring sheets is that this is very mobile and it's not messy. You can take this on the road with you. If you have a road trip, if you have a doctor's appointment, it's really great to take it with you in just a set of coloring pencils, and you can do it in the doctor's office while you wait. So let's get started. Of course, I'm going to use some yellow because I have a sun here, and I have these flowers in the foreground, which I could make them white, but I think I'm going to make them yellow. So I'm going to use 2 shades of yellow, really 3, because I have the sun here and I have this yellow here. I also have some green in the foreground, so I'm going to take out a green, and I have this waterfall, which is going to be blue. And of course we have the sky surrounding this. Sun, looks like some trees in the distance. So I have a blue. I'm going to need 2 different blues, I think. That's what I'm going to use. And the rock formations here, I'm going to use a combination of some black and some brown, I believe. I have a black and a brown. We'll see what that looks like. If the black is too much, we'll switch to a reddish orange color. We normally paint from the farthest distance up close. You don't have to do that here, but I'm going to save these flowers here for last. So I'm going to put some dark color, not much, on these rock formations underneath. And I'm using the widest side of the pencil. Let me get some extra light in here. Let's see if that helps, because I noticed there's a lot of shadow. So let me move my pencils here to the side. I generally keep the pencils out that I'm going to use, and I have them grouped together. We'll see what happens. Putting a little black underneath the bottom. I don't like my colors to look flat like I'm painting a wall, so you'll often see me use more than one color. And you may see me use some colors that don't really belong. In other words, you wouldn't normally see those colors there. I'd use them. In my paintings, I rarely use black, regular black out of a tube when I'm painting. I rarely use that. I'll use a made-up color that could be considered black. I often make a mess when I paint with black and white, so I don't usually do it. Alright, that's there. I'm going to put some brown on these rocks. As you can see, the black is taking over. And I hate that. One thing with color pencils, once you put the marks down, you can't take them up. You can try and erase them. So you want to put light amounts of color or small amounts of color, and then you can always come back and re-emphasize it or add more layers. And of course I don't color everything. I'll color in, but I leave some open space because these have a little waxy film on it, and it'll kind of keep me from adding extra layers on top of that. Alright, so that's there. I don't like how that black is in there, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to cover that up or change it. And this weird thing of color pencils, I have some gray. I'm going to put that on the top of these and see how that looks. Right over the top. And I'm going to put it right over the top of the other two colors that I have down there also. It does create a different plane, top, sides, and the bottom. That's my container of pencils making all that noise. And again, I'm coloring with the side of the pencil lead because it covers more space, a larger area, and it makes a lighter line than using the point of the pencil. I find it so amazing that I miss coloring so many things when I'm using these pencils. I completely missed this entire rock right here. But I came back in and colored it. I could have just colored this rock with the brown and the gray. So that one has gray in it. It's a different. And I'm using it over the black area to kind of tone those blacks down some. And then of course I'm using it also here on that top area, not too much, but just some over there where the grays are, so it doesn't look like one flat color. Doing the same thing up here, each of the rocks. I colored the rocks first, for one because I wasn't sure what it would look like, and for two, it's not my most favorite part. I generally leave the parts I think are going to be my favorite parts for last. I'm missing an entire rock there also. It's amazing. Tone down that black some. But by me coming in adding more of this color on here where I'd already added the color before, it's causing it to look 3D and pop. So it's okay, I guess. I probably just should not have added so much at one time. It's causing me to come back and add extra of this brown, so I'm going to add just a little bit in here, not much. think that's a rock up there too that I totally missed. That's what, three? Three that I've missed so far? Okay, I'll add a little on this bottom, not much. I can't believe I missed so many rocks. That's what happens. So all of the rocks, it looks like all of the rocks are done, which is good because I'm going to put the water over there and I want some of that blue of the water to kind of fall over there. That looks like it could be a rock too. I want it to look like the water is falling over the rocks. So that's a good thing to do those first. Let's address the sun in the back. I'm going to use this darker yellow here around the rock formations. I'm again using the side, laying the pencil down. And lightly and going around in a circle, applying the color there. And I want to come around the outside and add the yellow. And then I'm going to add the really bright yellow on the very outside of that. Notice I'm going around that ball because it's the sun. But I want to keep that shape. These are trees in the background, and I'm just going to really lightly color them, not doing too much in there. I think these are rocks. So lightly do that there. I'm going to make these gray on the tops and parts of the sides. I'm going to come in there with that brown. Not too much more. I want them to look like they're further away than these. So this cluster of rocks is lining the waterfall, and these are further away, so I'm coloring it really lightly. Really lightly, and then I'm just going to add a taps of this black, not much, really taps lines of it, not much, just so it'll look like the side of the rock, but they're in the distance. Let's see if I can bring it a little closer so you can see that. See that? So these are at a distance, further distance away from me than these are. So you don't want to give the things in the background too much color. However, no matter where the sun is, it's super bright unless clouds are covering it, so we'll go with that. Now I'm going to address that, and I'm going to lightly color it blue, this lightest blue that I have. Not too much. I don't generally address the stuff back there, but I will address it because I want to have the color in more than one spot. Since I got all this blue going on here, I'm going to put this blue in the background too for the sky. Perfect. And now these are going to be green here, and I'm going to have that yellow there. I'm going to save the water for last. That's my two blues, and I may end up putting some black in there. I'm going to go ahead and do these greens. This may be a rock. And I don't like my colors looking super flat. So I'm going, let's make sure you can see that. I'm painting the leaves up and up through the petal of the leaf. Because that's the way it is. I'm not being super meticulous with it. But that's how I'm painting up the leaf, the petal of the leaf, between the flowers. Loosely painting them, which means I'm not paying a lot of attention, and I'm not taking a lot of time to paint every single detail. I have some specks of the paper showing, and then these here in the background, I'm not even painting them exactly up and down the leaf. I'm just painting them. And for some of these, you'll see there is a stem here and there, but that's loosely painting. I'm not taking a lot of time making sure every single thing is covered. I don't want to do that. I can tell, the viewer can tell also, when you look at a painting, if someone spent a lot of time on it or not. So now I'm going to take a little of the blue that I'm going to use in the waterfall, and I'm going to use it on the green. Here and there. Not much. I want this to be mostly green. So I'm going to put some of this blue in here, and I'm going to come back over top of it with some green. And this creates a nice harmonious painting, which means it doesn't look super flat, and it doesn't look like one area sticks out like a sore thumb. So if I was to come in and drop some red paint or some orange paint somewhere in here, it would stick out like a sore thumb, because that's the only place you would see it. You wouldn't see it anywhere else. And there it is. I think that would be a rock back there too. I can't tell what that is. So for that and this, we're going to make them rocks. There and there, those are rocks. Come over on the top with some gray. And then a touch of that black down there at the bottom part of it. So it looks like whatever else we've done. I didn't put any brown on the top of these, did I? And you can tell. There. So now I have these in here, and if I want to come back in, which I said I was going to come back in, and these leaves here, see the leaves here in the front? I'm pressing a little harder here and there, not the whole thing, to make a few stand out. At the stem. And that's because they're closer to me than anything else on this painting. The leaves here are closer to me. So these leaves would have more color on it than these back here. I'm going to lightly paint over these here and there with some green. I don't want that blue standing out. I want your brain to pick it out, but not your eyes. And here we give it a little bit more again. We give it a little bit more greenery. By adding more, pressing a little harder, adding a little more color to it. Where you can always add more color. You just can't take it all out when you don't want it there. And I'm going to come in here and stroke the stem of the flowers. That's what I'm doing here. I don't want it to come out too much back here. That one comes right over that flower. So I want them to stand out a little, but not too much of the flowers. Stand out over that, but not too much. All right, that's it for that. And now I need to do these flowers and the waterfall. So I think I'm going to do the flowers last. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to do the waterfall. So the waterfall comes here, here, and here. I want these colors to be much darker than the ones back there. However, since the sun is shining, it's not quite over the top yet. I'm going to make the section here darker than the top flat section. That's what I did with these rocks. I made the rocks on this side darker than the top areas. So that's what we intend on doing. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to color the whole thing. I'm not concerned with the lines or the areas yet. I'm going around the rocks. Almost painting them the same color. Now normally I would paint this down and along the direction that the object is flowing, but I'm going to come back over here with some some lines going in the direction that the other lines are going. Right now I just want to paint that whole thing in the background, which is big. It's a large area. It could be overwhelming, but we're not going to let it. We're just going to paint it like one big thing. And right now it almost looks the same strength or intensity as that background. See that? So we're going to do that in everything in here. Let's come in and add a few lines. Now I'm following these lines. I like this edge going here. The lines that are already here, that's what I'm following. And that's going to be the top side. Now here I'm going to do it along this edge here. See this ridge? There's a ridge right there. I'm going to actually put some gray in there. The gray was on the rocks, just here on this ridge and right here on this ridge. Make sure it's the ridge. See, not this flat piece up here, but the ridge part right here. And now I'm going to come in with that darker color and make those lines there off that ridge. Here I'm going to come under where that rock is. That rock is hanging there. And with the flat side, I'm making that darker right in there. And that's what I want here. Darker right underneath it. Darker underneath. So now I have to be careful because this underneath this one is on top of that. So I don't want it to come out that much. Just in here. So what's happening is I'm making it look like the rock, of course, is sticking out. And casting a shadow on that which is underneath it. So these over here aren't going to cast a shadow, but right here, under here, it will create a shadow. Not much, but enough, right up under there. These are on top, right under here will create a little shadow, not much. So I don't want it to look like this one is super big. But enough, just enough. Here, it will create a shadow. And I'm sort of going around the shape of the rock because a shadow tells you what the object is that is casting the shadow. So if it was a person standing up casting a shadow, it would not look like a shadow from a dog. The shadow has to look exactly like the item or the object that is casting it. It tells you what the object is, and it tells you the shape of the object. So there, I've got cast shadows, and now on this dark side ridge, I'm going to put here and there, not too dark, water. So I don't want these lines that I'm putting, I don't want them too much darker than there. Although I'm going to come over them with that other color. Right in here. So I'm looking at how its shape. So it's best to follow the lines that are already there. And then I'm just adding, let me just follow these lines first. So from a distance, these lines won't look black, they'll look blue, like the waterfall. See that? There. Now I'm going to lightly color with this. So I did the lines. I didn't do all of them. Some of these lines up here I left alone. So now I'm going to come in lightly here and there. Place this color here and there. Notice I'm placing it here on this side, not on that flat side there. So I'm going to place some along here so it will actually be able to differentiate between that where it turns. I want you to be able to pick it up easily with the eye. And then here I don't want too much, but I want enough so that it looks more colorful. Then all the way back there. And now I'm going to come back with this lighter colors, the same color I used on the sky, and I used in here the first time. And now I'm going to come back in here. I made that a little too dark. That's what I needed down here. Following that was a little too dark, but maybe it'll look like it's in the shadow. Put this color in here. Little here, little there. Come back over and add a little more so it's not too much at one time. And I'm coloring this side. I'm not coloring this top piece. So you still should be able to see the difference in this and this. I'm letting a little of the blue hit over the tops of the rocks, which is okay. That way it'll look like a little water here and there. Touches the rocks. Because it would. You would see a little of that water here and there on these rocks. Why? Because they're right in the middle of the waterfall. And then the water would splash here and there on them. Not so much all up in here, but you never know. There. And all I need now, put a little there, I need to do those flowers. So the middle, the centers would be somewhat darker. So I'm just going to come in here. And I see what's in there, which is the stamen, but I'm not concerned with that, the actual shape of it. See there? It sort of like did a circular shape in the middle of each one of them. I'm keeping it light and loose. I'm not trying to be too meticulous about anything. And now I'll go down each petal so that it doesn't look like one flat color. 1 or 2 lines down each petal. If I'm painting this and I'm not giving instructions about painting it, I would be listening to the sound that the pencil is making when I touch it to the paper. That's what I normally do. I normally just listen to that. And now I'm painting over that. See that? But it creates a nice variation. Let me do this one too. Here. You don't have to color these yellow if you don't want to now. You can color them pink, red, blue, purple. It's up to you. So it doesn't look like a flat color. It's not 3D, but it's not flat either. Every flower, the center of the flower will be darker than the outside because it's closer to the petals are closer together, and so the color will look more concentrated in that area. Just some simple rules, little things to make your paintings look interesting and not flat. A lot of times people can't understand what's wrong with the painting that they did. It's because everything is one flat color. And now I put yellow there. You could have put red there, and I'm going to show you what I mean. See, now they look like yellow daffodils. And I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back and add just a little red here in there. Just little lines of red here and there on the petals. Lightly done here and there from the middle outward. It creates a very interesting effect. See there? Very interesting effect. So it doesn't look flat. It has that 2 shades of yellow already. Those are 2 shades of yellow. So now I'm not trying to cover up what's there. I'm just adding to it, coming from the center going outward, following the shape of the petal. Each petal, give each petal its own little line. That's it, see there? So you can see that stem. I can even create some more interest by going down part of the stem. Not the whole stem, just part of it. Doesn't have to be a lot, just a little. The eye will see it and the brain will pick it up. And so now I'm going to come back over there with the yellow. You see that red on there? It made it so much more interesting. It's not just a flat one color. So now I'm going to come back over it with some more yellow. And it'll tone it down if need be. Just going over the red. I'm looking for the red. And that's bright. Let's see what it looks like if I use that darker. more interesting. Maybe because it's toward the middle of the flower and it's more concentrated. So I'm using a darker yellow. If you don't have the darker yellow, use the yellow that you have. I'm just going over where the red is now. Color pencils give such dramatic effects, and I found when you layer one layer of colored pencil over the other layer, it turns out to be such an interesting array of colors when you finish. See that? Let's add some here because I didn't add any there. Perfect. Look at those flowers now. They don't look like one flat color. So when you look at it like that, it looks like, oh my goodness, look at these stray marks. Can you see the stray mark? One going that way, that one's going that way. What in the world? That's what you'd think. But when you look at it from a distance, it makes it all pop. And if you want to, you can come down and add more lines to these, but I just don't want to add too many lines. You can add more, but I just don't want to. So let's come back out, and then you can see it as a whole. These are much closer to me. Yellow and red, also orange. Those are your warm tones. They tend to come forward much more than these cool colors of blue and green. This is in the front. Excuse me, it's closer to me, so it will be more colorful, more vibrant. But I wanted the waterfall to stand out. So the waterfall has some extra dark colors here and there. But these flowers stand out more than that sun, more than that sky or those trees back there. So that's how you do it. Hope you have fun. Thanks for joining me. Keep it loose. Keep it free. Until next time.